Welcome to One More Podcast, where we're having one more conversation about what matters. Whether you're heading to work or heading home, we're really glad you hit play. You can listen to One More Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also watch every episode on YouTube or on Spotify. And hey, if you enjoyed today's conversation, do us a favor, subscribe, leave a quick review, and share this episode with a friend. Seriously, you never know how a simple share might impact one more person. All right, let's jump into today's episode.
Hey there, welcome back to the One More Podcast. I'm Jake, and I'm here with Carter, and today our topic is our first complex conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And we're kicking it off with a bang, kicking it off. See what I did there?
Yeah.
We're talking about God and sports.
Come on.
Carter and I are both really big sports fans. I'm sure a lot of you are out there as well. And even if you're not, I think this is a relevant topic. The sports world has kind of been on fire for the last few months.
Yes.
A lot going on, and so we thought this would be a good way to kick off.
Yes, I am super excited about this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I love God and I love sports. These are two of my favorite things.
Yeah.
I mean, family is in there too.
You won't tell people what order, right?
Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love sports. I believe in sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think so much positive in my life has happened because of or through athletics.
Sure.
So I believe in them. But also, I just care a lot. So, I mean, if we're people of faith, we need to think about it. And like right now, we're in a season, like you said. I mean, college football playoff just about a month ago was done. Super Bowl just happened. We've got the coming together every 4 years of Winter Olympics, right? In the Super Bowl season. And so it's a hot time in sports right now.
Yeah. And so we thought a great time to have this conversation. And you might not think, what do these things have to do with each other? Like,
Yeah.
what does God and sports have to do with one another? I think when we are followers of Jesus, any kind of environment, anything that we engage with, we need to think about how our faith pertains to that. And so, we're going to attack this topic from a few different kind of vantage points today. And I think you'll begin to understand a little bit why it's a little more complex than maybe you think off the bat.
And the best part's at the end.
Yes. So stay tuned.
Like, I'm excited about all of it.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited about the end.
You're not going to want to miss how we end the conversation.
Yeah, because there's three things we're going to talk about, right?
Yes. And the first is idolatry and identity. And so we're going to talk about, how to raise kids and have them involved in sports.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how to be a fan and not lose your identity in that and not fall into idolatry. And then we'll close today talking about kind of determinism in sports.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
But let's get started by just kind of jumping into this concept of idolatry and identity.
Yeah.
What does it look like to engage with sports, either as a fan or someone who's playing them or whose kids are playing them, and not fall into idolatry, not lose their identity in those things?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, when I think sports are kind of like money.
Sure.
Like, they're just kind of amoral.
Mm-hmm.
I think, it's kind of like the internet, AI, like all those things. Like, they can be used for good, they can be used for bad. If we engage with them, we've got some scripture, passages like Ecclesiastes 9:10, like whatever you do it with all your might.
Yeah.
1 Corinthians, what is that? 10:31.
Yeah.
Yeah. That says, whatever you do it for the glory of God. So we would think about that in work, right? Work is kind of amoral. Like, for the most part, there can be some kind of shady things, but whether I'm cleaning the house, like I do it for everything I do for the glory of God. So if we're going to play sports, or we're going to be a fan, or our kids are going to play sports, like, how can we do it, first of all, for the glory of God? And then how can we do it, if we're going to do it, if we're going to do it, we should do it with all our might. And I believe that.
Yeah.
Like, so.
To the best of our abilities, right?
Yeah.
So whatever ability God has given you, use it to its full capacity to do the thing you're doing. And so, I mean, that's true of sports as well, which is why it is a good tool when you're raising kids, right? To teach them values.
Yeah.
And, you've raised boys who have played sports. I've got little ones, but even my 7 and 6-year-old are already playing sports because it teaches them, I think, stick-to-itiveness, right?
Yeah.
To not give up, to push through things that are hard, that you're not good at first. Most sports, most of us are not good at the first time we do them.
No.
So they teach us how to learn a new skill. They teach us teamwork.
Yes.
They teach us determination. They teach us how to lose well, how to win well. And so just so many things that you can learn from engaging with sports.
Right. Yeah. So first, let's talk about identity, and I think there's kind of 2 angles to identity. One, identity in sports is one for the athlete, and then there is like, hey, as a parent, how should I be engaging with sports with my kid? Some of you might even be like, should I let my kids play sports?
Yeah.
So I mean, the thing that I love about sports is the positive things they do for character development and our sense of identity.
Mm-hmm.
So sports are hard.
They are.
Sports are hard, and some sports are harder than others. I mean, I was a football guy.
Yeah.
Football's really hard.
Yeah, it's a hard game.
It's really hard, and there are but all sports are hard. They push you physically. Last summer I read Katie Ledecky's book.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of Olympics, Summer Olympics, because I was just enamored with her feats as an athlete and just her longevity. She keeps coming back 4 years later, and you're like, is this her last one? No, she's got one more.
Still going to do it. Still going to dominate.
She's going to do it 28.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And she just pretty much, in her book, I mean, basically she just says, or she doesn't really know if she's the fastest. What she does know is she can take pain because she's a distance swimmer.
Yeah.
And it really is like, can you take the pain? It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
So the thing I love about sports is like it's hard, and life is hard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I've told my boys when they've gone through hard things. I'm just like, hey, this is going to teach you I can do hard things. I promise you, when you graduate and you get a job and you get married and you have kids, they're going to be hard things. And listen, I had a football mentor in my life that he would come up to me every Friday night if he was at my game. He was a friend of my dad's, and he would always say this thing. He'd always say, bow your neck. Just like, listen, you got to have a stiff neck this Friday night, playing against a good team. And there are times, if I'm going through a hard situation, I will say to myself, bow your neck.
Yeah.
Right? So it's hard. You're going to be disappointed in sports.
Absolutely.
You're going to lose.
Yep. And you got to learn how to deal with it.
You're going to lose.
And that's going to happen in life too.
You are going to lose sometimes at life.
Yeah.
You are going to have a coach at some point that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You are going to have a boss at some point that you don't like. You're going to have teammates that you are not friends with and that you come from different backgrounds.
But you have to work together to achieve a common goal.
Figure it out.
Yep.
Right? In the huddle, on the bench, in the locker room, on the court, on the field, in the pool, whatever it is. You got to come together and figure out how to do that. And that's going to happen in the real world. Everybody's going to have somebody they work with. They're just not friends with.
Yep.
They don't jive with. They don't G-haul, as my mama used to say. And you got to figure out how to do it, how to work through it together. And I mean, that's to me, I think all sports can teach us a lot of lessons about those things, about failure, about I do think there is, and my boys have done both. I've got track guys, which is kind of individualized, and they've played football. I did those. I did track growing up. Track, swimming, golf, gymnastics. There's these individual sports, tennis. But I do think there's a different kind of lesson in team sports.
Sure.
Basketball, baseball, football, soccer, that I got to work together as a team.
Yeah, you're learning how to manage relationships. If you're a leader on the team, you're learning how to lead people.
Yeah.
If you're learning how to communicate well, right?
Absolutely.
Sports teaches good communication skills, which are necessary as you grow up and navigate life as well. And so many, practical truths that can be learned through sports.
Yeah.
One of my pet peeves is when my kids have a friend over and it's very apparent that kid has not been taught how to win or lose well.
Yeah.
Sports does that for you.
Sports does
that work for you. It teaches your kids how to win and lose and deal with it, right?
You play long enough, you're going to do it. And and the thing about team sports, especially as you get older, and and of course all these schools around here are just like, there's like they're powerhouses in every sport.
Yeah.
We got all these 6 and 7A high schools, and it's different everywhere. But like struggling with not getting playing time, and having the kind of moral character and fortitude for my joy to be about the success of others and like how to be a good teammate.
Yeah.
Because, hey, one day around the office, you might not be getting the recognition.
Absolutely.
But maybe the company's winning and somebody else is getting the promotion.
Yeah.
Boy, you learn that when you're riding the pine. It's a hard thing to do. That's that's such a hard thing, but it is.
Yeah.
Such an important lesson.
It reminds me, I grew up playing basketball. That was my sport. I still play. I'm probably too old to continue playing, but I still play. And my son Campbell has recently started to play, and so I thought I'd get him into a little developmental league. And so he's been doing developmental basketball at Vestavia High School on Saturdays. Shout out Coach Davis, who's the varsity coach there. He leads that. And he taught the kids this week. He said, it takes zero skill. You do not have to be the fastest, the strongest, or the best to be a good teammate, right? And that's such a great thing for kids to learn,
right?
Is that sometimes you're not going to be the best. You're not going to be the fastest. You're not going to be the strongest, but you can be a good teammate. You can be an encourager. And so what kind of difference can I make with the abilities I've been given? That's a huge life skill that can be learned from sports.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just the idea of just like practice, it takes practice. And sports or something. And it kind of goes with like music's that kind of that same way, teaches those same lessons, but that like practice.
Yeah.
One of the things that that as a football guy, it's like football is one of the few sports that you practice more than you play. Like once a Major League Baseball season starts, they don't practice a lot because they play almost every day.
Yeah.
And so it's an off day. They don't even practice. They actually get an off day. They go to the hitting cage, before a game. They take BP. But football, you practice for 5 days, take a day off, and then play.
Yeah.
And then you practice for 5 days and then take a day off. And sometimes life's that way. Like the performance, the event, the presentation, there's so much more practice heading into it. So when it comes to identity with if you're a parent, you're like, you got young kids, should I let my kids play sports? This is my opinion. There is nothing in the Bible about this, No. But I just think there's so much value. The Apostle Paul did talk about sports, right? Like he used it as a metaphor of just like, hey, there's something about training, and he talked about it in discipleship.
Yeah.
Just like an athlete goes into strict training, I have to go into strict training. And so there is something there. Paul seems to say of like, hey, you learn a lesson there in training. But when it comes to parents, of course, one of the things we see kind of today is parents can end up, they can kind of end up co-opting the careers of their children.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Their identity it is so easy for your identity to get locked up in the success of your kids. Mm-hmm. That's a tricky thing.
Yeah. I think it's a temptation. And I don't really begrudge parents that do this because I understand the temptation. I love my kids. I want them to succeed. I want to, I want them to do things and tell them I'm proud of them. But there is a temptation to want to live vicariously through your kids, right? And through their success. And sometimes even if you have unfulfilled dreams in your sporting career, placing that pressure on your kids to fulfill those dreams. And so let's talk a little bit about kind of that pressure and, how we would caution against that.
Yeah. It's easy. I mean, like my boys, I've got 2 boys that are like 6'2", and I'm like, I wish I could have been 6'2", right? Yeah, the main thing is I heard this a long time ago, and you've probably seen this, and I try to do this with mine of just like, hey, I love to just even after games, no matter what, just I love watching you play or after practice. I just love watching you play. Like it's about you. And then the other thing is to just always be about like, hey, I'm proud of you because of who you are. I'm not more proud of you
when you win or
when you lose or when you succeed. And I love you, no matter what. Because what we're doing this for is to we're doing this to we're doing it because we love it. It develops character. We're all obsessed, with getting a D1 scholarship these days or making it to the pros. I mean, I've been around athletics a long time. That's few and far between.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, as someone who worked in Division I athletics in college and whose brother was a high school football coach for 30 years. If your kid is good, they will find them.
Yeah.
They will find them. Like, I mean, I just promise you, if they're good, they will find them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like you don't do the camps or whatever, I mean, those are good learning experiences and you get some training and some coaching at some of those. I do think we have gotten a world that's gotten a little over obsessive about some of that, just like, listen, if they're good, you want to develop that talent if they've got talent, but if they're talented, you won't be able to hide them.
Yeah. I think there is something to be said about participating in sports for the joy of it.
Yeah.
Right. And not for the extra benefits.
Yeah.
And those things might come, right, depending on your skill level. But I think if we put our focus there, then one, we're going to set our kids up for failure because, like you said, most of us are never going to sniff a D1 gymnasium or playing field.
Yeah.
And so to set realistic expectations for your children, but then to let them, strive and try to achieve, but to not lose sight of the fact that we're playing this sport because we love to do it and we love what it can teach us.
Yeah. So from a parenting perspective, I mean, the thing that I think is so important, and I will speak to Christian parents, is what is your primary goal for their life? And it ought to be that they become a disciple of Jesus,
Absolutely.
that they are a faithful follower of Jesus, and they can do that within the context of athletics. Because here's what I know about every athlete, and this is for athletes and for parents. This is true of every athlete. There is going to come a time that they, whoever they are, they are going to tell you can't play anymore.
Yep.
The they could be the 0 schools that offered a scholarship, and what they're telling you is you don't get to play anymore.
Not at this level.
Maybe you get a scholarship. Maybe you get to go to college and walk on. But they could be the professionals that you don't get drafted. You don't, and they're telling you don't get to play anymore.
Yeah.
Or maybe they are awesome and they do become a professional athlete. But I want to tell you something about Father Time.
Undefeated.
Yep. And at one point, they're going to tell you can't play anymore because you're not as fast as you used to be. You're not as good. You're not as quick. You're getting too old. You're injury prone. I mean, the lifespan is so short. I mean, we look at NFL players or NBA, and they're like, they're 38. They're so old.
Yeah. Yep.
That's not old.
Yeah.
But in the sports world, it's old.
Yeah. Hopefully, you will be a disciple a
That's
lot
right.
longer than you are an athlete.
If your identity is in that, then first of all, you've got problems spiritually when you don't succeed. Because you thought I'm supposed to be this, but you got some serious problems when you don't get to play anymore. Right. And you see this with kids who not only are at the end of the line, whether it's retirement or they don't get the scholarship, you see it sometimes they get injured.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of have a catastrophic injury. You have to sit out a season and your whole identity. So we got to build that. And I mean, so that's to me, I know one of the questions you asked when we were preparing this is like, hey, the question parents ask, do I sign my kid up to play like Sunday sports?
Right.
And I mean, for me, that was just that was a non-starter. I'm a pastor.
Yeah, sure.
Because we can't go to the games. Like, no, we're not doing it. And I'm just kind of one that like we're almost always there. My wife Emily and I, we try if we can be at. We're at every event that we can be for the boys. So it was a non-starter. I don't say no. I just my question to any parent is just be careful. Just be careful in what things you are letting become the identity of your kid.
Mm-hmm.
And would you take music lessons from a music teacher who said the only time I can do it is on Sunday morning? You'd probably be like, I'm going to find another music teacher.
Yeah.
That can over time erode habits. It can't, I got lots of friends who are wonderful Christians. Kids that play travel ball, played on Sundays. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. There's there's lots of great Christian NASCAR drivers and NFL football players and NBA players and Major League Baseball players who play on Sundays, yeah. Right? So it just is. And golfers, professional golfers, whose the biggest day is on Sunday.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I would just at a young age, I would just be careful. Mm-hmm. Is that bad for a season? It's probably not. But man, if you get to the point and you're like, wow, we did that, and then we didn't attend church from the time my kid was 7 to 14 until they got to high school ball, it might be hard to get that 14-year-old back in church.
Yeah. And what does that communicate to that child about the priority list that you have about, Scripture tells us to not give up the habit of meeting with one another, right?
Yeah.
To take seriously being in community with other Christians. Yeah. And certainly there's other ways to do that other than attending a corporate worship on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But if you get out of that habit, it can be hard to restart it, like you said, and it can communicate things to your children about what priorities. Now, I grew up a pastor's kid, and so, for us, it was a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
I played on a few travel ball teams my junior year, and we were really good. And so we played tournaments usually. You're only in a Sunday game if you advance in the tournament.
Yeah.
We were really good, so we advanced to a lot of Sundays. I didn't play in a single one of them, which meant I didn't get a lot of playing time.
Yeah.
Because the coach couldn't count on me to be there Sundays.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated about that. I got mad at my parents a few times about that. But what that communicated to me was a deeper value about Sundays being a Sabbath for us. Sundays being a day where we set that aside to worship God. I'm not saying that's what you have to do with your kids.
Yeah.
But it communicated something to me that has stuck.
Yeah. And from a pastoral standpoint, I think about like a couple of things. If one is like, hey, sometimes just like this just is part of the culture. Do we need services that aren't on Sunday mornings for people? I don't know. Maybe that's down the road, And the one thing I would love to see is if a family's going to do that, man, can they take the church to the team?
Yeah.
Can you like, hey, we're going to have team devotions. Anybody that wants to come, you're going to lead that. Absolutely. We believe in being in the world, but not of it.
Yeah.
Church doesn't just happen inside the walls. I do think there's a priority there, but okay. What we're talking about is we're getting into, can it become idolatry?
Yeah.
And sports can become idolatry, whether we play it, whether we are the parent in it, or whether we are fans.
Yeah.
It can become idolatry.
Just consuming
We're in
it,
SEC
right?
country.
Yeah.
So it's kind of built on that.
Yes. It just means more, right? That is that is the slogan for the SEC, and certainly that is true of SEC fans. They are pretty rabid. We're both fans of SEC schools, and so we get it. And watching and attending sports has been a big part of our stories. And I've had some of my most formative experiences with my family. My dad played football at a D1 school, and so it's in my blood. I love sports. I love going to games. But we do have to protect, I think, in our hearts against this temptation to make an idol out of it. And I think sports make an awful god. And I can say that because my team stinks a lot. And so they let me down very
God,
often.
and God doesn't stink.
And God doesn't stink. He didn't let me down ever.
Yeah.
And so we do have to guard against that idolatry, right? I came across this. There's really 3 questions to guard against the problem of fandom, to test whether or not your fandom is kind of verging on idolatry. And here they are. Can you still enjoy sports as a good gift from God, even when your team loses or lets you down? That's a tough question to answer. If you can't, if your joy is dependent on your team having victory, then it might be becoming an idol.
Have you ever seen the movie Fever Pitch?
Yes, with Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
It's underrated.
Underrated.
Yeah.
Because it perfectly it perfectly describes kind of like ridiculous fandom.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, he feels about the Red Sox the way I feel about my team.
Yeah.
You know, he's got season tickets, goes to spring training.
Yeah.
It's just like just what you do. So then you realize like when you get into a relationship, he gets into this dating relationship and he's like, oh, yeah, like they're like 81 days a year I'm in Fenway Park like from April to August. Like that's where I am. But he says something in there that's like, oh, he's like, it's healthy to be like to care about something so much that you have no control over. Like I'm paraphrasing that.
That's
and
good.
I thought that's really good. I mean, that's kind of like the joy of it is like, I have no control over this. I'm cheering. It gives me joy, but you just realize like, man, if they lost, I have no control over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's question number 1. Question 2 is, do you tend to separate your love of sports or your fandom from your faith, or do you find ways to have a connection between the two?
Yeah.
And so that's just simply a question about, do you bring your faith into the arena with you? The way you're watching sports, do you do it in a way that is enriching to your life? Does it cause you anxiety? Are you constantly screaming at the TV? I'm guilty of that. I get pretty heated sometimes during sports. And I have to check myself from time to time. And typically it's my wife checking my behavior. But am I conducting myself when I'm playing sports or watching sports in a way that is in a manner worthy of the calling that I have on my life as a follower of Jesus?
Right. I've gotten better at that over the years. And I mean, I think that's probably one reason maybe the Lord didn't gift me with the D1 gifts to be a D1 athlete is I probably didn't have the character to withhold it, because, I mean, that's a big problem if like sports cause me to act in such a way that really harms my witness as a Christian or really takes me farther away from God. It's almost like dating.
Yeah.
Right? We tell young people, is this person you're dating, is this bringing you closer to Christ? So like if this is pulling you away and actually the worst moments in your faith are when you're doing this sports thing, that's not good.
Yeah.
That might be a signal that this is becoming an idol.
Yeah. And then the final question is this: in what ways, if any, does your involvement in sports shape how you live out faithfulness, commitment, or perseverance in the rest of your life? And one of the things that I thought about when I read this question was, when I'm watching sports, do I find myself complaining about, a player's effort or a coach's performance or a ref's performance in a way that is, that does not recognize the humanity of that person?
Yeah.
And if I cross over that line to where that person has become something I'm consuming and not another human who's on this earth who bears the image of God, then I need to take a breath and think about how I'm bringing my faith into the arena.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was I first started in ministry, I'd literally been a pastor for about 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd started in the summer, so football season had just started. And it was a Sunday morning, and my team had just, big SEC football fan, had just lost on that Saturday, first loss of the season. And it was a tough loss. And I get to church the next morning, and one of my church members says to me, I had on a dark suit. He said, I see you're wearing black today. because you must be in mourning after the game yesterday. And that set me off. I just want you to know that set me off. We are here to worship the resurrected King. I am not in mourning. It was just like, it is not going to affect my mood coming into the house of God to worship him who is worthy, right? So we lost a game. No, it was just, I just picked a dark suit that day. And it just made me so mad because I'm like, no, I'm never in mourning coming to church.
Yeah. My world does not revolve around this thing, even though I love it and I spend money on it and I spend time invested in it and I spend time on message boards reading about it and I spend time watching it and going to games. My world does not revolve around it.
Yeah.
Win or lose, the sun's going to rise tomorrow and God's still going to be the center of my life.
It's
and that's where I got to find my identity.
It's competition, but it's not real life.
Exactly.
It's not real. I mean, ultimately it's make believe. Like it's just it's games we've made up.
Yep.
Right? They're fun. I want my team to win every time, but it's not real life. It's not what life is about, you know. So, all right, we're gonna get to the good. This is the best part.
This is the best part of the conversation.
This is the best part.
This is what you've been. This
I
is
told
the
you.
main course.
I told you. I really care about all this. Man, you just see it all the time. So one of the things that sports does is it reveals some kind of weird, quirky theology sometimes. And I think it's because we don't quite have the language, or we don't think about what we're saying or even believing, or so. I mean, let's start it out with this. Let's start with this. So it was last year. I was with two of my middle boys, Walker and Tanner, and we're at a game. It was a super stressful game. It's in overtime. We finally win, and my son Walker goes, "I'm not lying. I was praying the whole time during the overtime that we would win." I said, "Do you think maybe there was a kid on the other side praying for the other team? Like, do you think God?" And I mean, he kind of laughed about it, like he knew. So it's just kind of this idea of God determining who wins the games. The weird language comes out in sports.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And weird religious stuff comes out.
Yeah. I can remember the Steelers and the Ravens were playing this year for an opportunity to get into the playoffs. They're already rivals, big game. The game was in Pittsburgh, I believe.
Yes.
And they had called a local priest to come out before the game.
Can't hurt.
And sprinkle holy water over the opposing end zone.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, that's funny. But it does reveal some of this shoddy theology that we're talking about.
And the Ravens kicker missed.
He did.
He missed the kick to win the game.
And you can make whatever determination you want to about whether or not that was God who caused the wind to blow to make him miss that field goal to lose the game, which caused someone who has been a coach for 18 years or something to lose his job.
Yeah. So it was God's plan.
That was God's plan.
for the kicker to miss the field goal so that John Harbaugh would get fired.
Yeah. But he wouldn't have cared. If that priest had not sprinkled the holy water, God would,
he wouldn't have
just
cared.
not turned that channel that night.
And did God have anything to do with the Steelers kicker missing the extra point that caused that to be a game winner and not a game tying field goal?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just when people say, and people just don't know. I mean, like after a game, they're on the field, which is probably not the best time to ask people theological questions. But like, tell me about this. And they're like, well, it's just all God.
Yeah.
It was just God's plan, or the reporter says, it's been a tough season. You guys went through a losing streak, but now you came back. Or it could be like, you fought back from this injury. Well, sometimes you just don't understand God's plan, but you just got to trust Him. And I'm just like, so is God's plan that you went on a 3-game losing streak? It's not just you threw 4 interceptions a game,
right?
Like maybe that was it.
Or you played teams who were just better
Or you just played better teams.
Yeah.
Or you just got in a slump and you couldn't hit a curveball.
Right.
Or whatever. I mean, I don't think I just don't think that's the way free will works.
No.
And I don't think God is determining. So what that does first of all, I just really dislike that takes away personal responsibility. Because then I think about, why practice hard?
Yeah.
Why train? Why give my best? So if I fail a test, so if I study super hard for a math test, a calculus test, a history test, and I do all the work and I work harder than everybody and I make a D, well, it was just God's plan.
Yeah.
Well, I should just not study, and maybe God's plan will be for me to make a B or an A, and I'll just get lucky because it was just God's plan. Or I'm not going to practice.
That day. Yeah.
I'm not going to the weight room because God's going to determine who wins the game anyway on Saturday or Sunday or Friday night. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's not the way God works.
Yeah. Now, there's certainly a difference between a player who at the end of the game they're given a platform to say something.
Absolutely.
And they want to say, like, I want to give the glory to God for my success. That's a totally different kind of concept, right? Of like, I just want to recognize that I wouldn't have these abilities if God had not given them to me.
That's what great sports do. They give people a platform to live out their faith.
Yeah. But this idea that God is concerned about the outcomes of sports, first of all, I think sometimes we, because it matters so much to us, we think it matters the same amount to God.
Yes.
And that's just simply not true. I don't think God's wasted any time in his eternity concerned about the outcomes of sporting events.
No. We have responsibility.
Yeah.
Like a couple years ago in the college football playoff, the two, when Ohio State and Notre Dame played for the national championship, and like one of the quarterbacks, because Will Howard's Ohio State, Riley Leonard for Notre Dame, they were really good Christian kids, kids by all measures.
Yeah.
One of them made the comment, I think maybe it was just God just, is really doing something. And there was all these stories about the baptisms that had happened on the Ohio State team, and I don't know if Notre Dame had the same thing or not, but I think God just orchestrated this, to have two Christian quarterbacks in the final. I saw that Notre Dame team play live and in person. They also had about 8 NFL players on that defense.
Yeah.
That's why they were in the national championship. They were really good. Jeremiah Love, really good. Yeah. Best running back on the field, right? Oh, that Ohio State team was loaded. Maybe that was it. Maybe Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs had something to do with it.
Sure.
Really good players. Travion Henderson.
And all the money that those programs invested into their football programs to be successful.
So, that just there were other Christian kids quarterbacking other teams.
Yeah. Now it's subtle, it does make a difference, because that is different than that person saying, it's just really cool that we have this platform.
Yes.
And God can use that.
Yes.
Right. There's a difference between orchestrating and using.
Absolutely. And so the platform, we just want to be careful there. I just think, and it just kind of, and I think it just kind of, I think if you're listening to if you're not a person of faith and you're hearing this, you hear somebody say that, you hear a coach, a player say that, you're like, so God didn't want the other team to win?
Yeah.
It just seems weird. Or the injury one's a big one. I see kids post all the time after an injury, and they know they're going to have months of rehab. Like, sometimes we don't understand God's plan. And I'm just like, it was not God's plan for you to tear your ACL.
Yeah.
Just like it's not God's plan for somebody to get cancer. We're in a broken world. God's plan was Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, a perfect world without all that, without death.
Yeah, no need for rehab.
Yeah. So our injuries and our disease are like hints of death, right? Hints of the brokenness of life.
Yeah.
And so it's not God's plan.
No, and God can be present in those things,
absolutely,
and work through those things,
absolutely,
and use them as tools. And certainly our enemy can do that as well. Can use those things as tools to steal our joy or to turn us away from God. But those are not the plan.
Yeah. So I would say, like, be able to kind of just be careful when you hear that stuff, but especially if you got kids. And they go through something like they get an injury or they lose in the playoffs or what, it's like, be careful about, like, we don't understand what God's doing. So I'm like, what God's doing? You just ran into a team that was better than you, or somebody just have dumb bad luck and a ball bounces funny, and it's just, and that's life.
Yep, as far as sports.
It's when you talked about the platform, we need to be careful of that too, though. Like one of the recent ones I've been I've been watching the chatter room. It's just like, well, I just want to thank the man upstairs.
Yeah.
And it's like, who is, you just said a lot right there.
Yeah.
You just said a lot. Because what you said was, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable enough with this platform to name who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right? There is no man upstairs. That's not what we believe. Right?
No.
As Christian, if you're Christian, if that's what you're trying to do, it's like, no, I want to thank God for this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thank Jesus for my salvation. That's where my identity is, and a follower of Him. That I get to do this is great.
Yeah. It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Right.
I hope I can get to influence people with this platform for Him.
And I'm just going to keep doing the best I can with the abilities I've been given, and use this platform to honor Jesus.
Yeah, that's C.J. Stroud said something recently. Quarterback of the Texans, and I really appreciate it. It was that, you know, somebody asked him at a press conference about there's a lot of Christians on that team, and I'm not a Texas fan. I like Stroud's a good player, seems like a really good kid. And he was like, I don't think God's a Texans fan. Like, I so appreciate him saying that. And he goes, but what we do have is we have a lot of guys who want to use this platform to give God glory and try to live our lives in such a way that it shows an example. And I'm like, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And just that, I so appreciated that.
Yeah, you know, this collision of God and sports, I think, is especially relevant in our context, being in the South. You know, I can remember growing up, going to high school football games. You pray before kickoff. In both locker rooms, they're probably saying the Lord's Prayer, right? And so we've done this thing in our culture where we have just intertwined faith and sports. And so sometimes the work we have to do as followers of Jesus is to disentangle those things. And to make sure that they're not mixing with each other in ways that are unhealthy, and making sure that we're keeping the main thing.
That's right. It's a complex conversation.
Yeah.
And we just scratched the tip of the iceberg there.
Absolutely. So, yeah, thanks for tuning into this episode of One More Podcast. If you have any questions related to this, you can certainly send them to ask us at onemorepodcast.org, and we'll try to get to those on one of the question and answer episodes as a follow-up to this one. You're going to want to tune in to our next episode in a few weeks where we're having our first question and answer episode, and someone sent in, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing the American church right now?
Easy peasy question. Softball.
Yeah, softball question. So that'll probably take up the majority of our time on that episode, and we'll answer that, and you're not going to want to miss it. Take a little sneak peek about how we answer that question.
I'm not anti-tradition. I love tradition. But traditionalism is dangerous.
Ultimately, right, an unhealthy attachment to any sort of tradition can become a religion in and of itself. This is the only way that we can do church.
I just think we should all ask ourselves, like, hey, are we married to the mission of, like, how are we going to win people, and how can we use the resources we have to reach more people, to win more people? Because that is what it's all about.
That's it for today's episode of One More Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. If this conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or made you think, do us a favor. Subscribe, leave a quick review, and share this episode with a friend. Seriously, sharing it helps more people find the kind of conversations we all need. And hey, if you've got questions you want us to tackle in a future episode, send them to ask us at onemorepodcast.org. We'll see you next time for one more conversation about what matters.